Number 1. Jerusalem as the center of global focus. Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital in 2017 was a significant and highly symbolic moment for many evangelical Christians, religious Zionists, and others who interpret biblical prophecy. His support for Jerusalem will likely continue to be a central issue, reinforcing the role of Jerusalem in end-time prophecies. Zechariah 12:3. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. Trump's unwavering support for Jerusalem might be seen as fulfilling this prophecy, symbolizing a time when Jerusalem becomes a point of global contention, but remains unmovable in its significance. His policies might be interpreted as part of the process of Jerusalem becoming the unshakable center of the world's attention, as foretold in Scripture. Luke 21:24. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. With continued U.S. backing under Trump for Israel's control over Jerusalem, some might see this as the times of the Gentiles drawing to a close. Trump's policies could be viewed as signaling that Israel is moving toward a more central role in God's prophetic plan, with Jerusalem finally being recognized as its undivided capital. Number 2. Restoration of Israel and the return of the Jews. Trump's victory could further solidify policies that encourage the restoration of Israel as a nation and the gathering of Jews to their homeland, an idea that is central to many biblical prophecies regarding the end times. Ezekiel 36:24. For I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land. With Trump in power, support for Israel and the Jewish people's return to their ancestral land would likely remain a key focus. This could be seen as aligning with the fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecy, which speaks of the gathering of the Jewish people from around the world to Israel. Isaiah 43:5-6. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bring your children from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Under Trump's leadership, if the trend of strong U.S. support for Israel continues, many may see the movement of Jews from around the world to Israel as a fulfillment of this prophecy, indicating that God's plan for the Jewish people to return to the land is nearing completion. Number 3. Strengthening Israel's territorial claims. Trump's earlier recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights and his strong support for Israel's territorial integrity could continue. This would be interpreted by some as a further fulfillment of biblical prophecies about the land promised to Israel. Deuteronomy 3:12-13. Of the land that we took over in the territory of Og king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei, the rest of Gilead and all of Bashan, as far as Salakah and Edrei, the territory of Og king of Bashan, were given to the half-tribe of Manasseh. The Golan Heights, which is part of ancient Bashan, is an area that Trump recognized as part of Israeli sovereignty. If Trump continued support for Israel's territorial claims, including the Golan, might be viewed as the fulfillment of God's promise to the tribes of Israel concerning their ancestral land. Joshua 1:4, your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. Some may interpret Trump's policies as a step toward the fulfillment of the biblical promise that Israel will control its full and rightful territory, extending from the Mediterranean Sea to the Euphrates River, even though this remains a subject of much debate among theologians and political analysts. Number 4. Peace with the nations, Abraham Accords and beyond. Trump's policies to broker peace deals between Israel and Arab nations, such as the Abraham Accords, have been seen by some as signs of progress toward biblical peace in the Middle East. A second term could see these efforts expand further, leading to more nations recognizing Israel or normalizing relations. Isaiah 19:23-25. In that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. The Assyrians will go to Egypt and the Egyptians to Assyria. The Egyptians and Assyrians will worship together. In that day Israel will be the third, along with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing on the earth. Some interpret this passage as prophesying a future time of peace and cooperation between Israel and its neighboring nations, especially Egypt and the Arab world. If Trump sees further expansion of the Abraham Accords or other peace agreements, it could be viewed as a sign that this prophecy is beginning to be fulfilled. Daniel 9:27. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And at the temple he will set up an abomination that causes desolation. Though traditionally associated with a future Antichrist figure, some interpret the signing of peace agreements between Israel and Arab nations as a precursor to the prophetic covenant spoken of in Daniel. While this connection is debated, the peace efforts seen under Trump's administration are viewed by some as a step toward the fulfillment of this prophecy. Number 5. The times of the Gentiles and Israel's final role. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift with Trump's policies in Israel's favor, some see this as a sign that the times of the Gentiles, the period when non-Jews have dominion over Jerusalem, are drawing to a close, and Israel's role in the world is being restored. Luke 21:24. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. With Trump's continued advocacy for Jerusalem as Israel's capital, this could be seen by some as marking the end of Gentile dominance over the city. His second term could solidify this view as Israel continues to assert its sovereignty over Jerusalem, aligning with the belief that the final restoration of Jerusalem is near. Trump's would likely lead to continued support for Israel, with policies that align with biblical prophecies about the restoration of Israel, the centrality of Jerusalem, and peace in the Middle East. Many would see his victory as a sign that God's promises to Israel are being fulfilled in our time, particularly concerning Jerusalem's unshakable role, the gathering of the Jewish people, and the restoration of Israel's territorial boundaries. While these interpretations are rooted in religious beliefs and not universally agreed upon, they represent the perspective of those who see Trump's actions as fulfilling key elements of biblical end-time prophecies, marking a time when Israel will play a central role in God's redemptive plan.